Welcome back. Let's return to the Extinction Rebellion protests which blocked roads outside the printing presses owned by Rupert Murdoch. The News Corp sites in Broxbourne, Hertfordshire and Merseyside produced copies of several national papers. Campaigners said they wanted to prevent titles including The Sun, The Times and the Daily Mail from reaching shops today. We can speak now to Donnachadh McCarthy, an environmental author and a spokesperson for Extinction Rebellion. Donnachadh, welcome to you. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us. What's the target of this action? The content of the newspapers and their coverage of climate change, or the owners of the newspapers?
We basically want the owners and the senior editors to take the climate change seriously. At the moment, there is rank complacency among the media and among the government. And so we feel that we had to come here today to do a radical, dramatic action to challenge that complacency. The UN said we have to radically cut our carbon emissions by the end of 2020. That's in 5 months' time. And the government, instead of doing that, is investing hundreds of billions of pounds in an old, dirty quantitative easing programme. OK, leaving the government aside, because we're talking about the press and this specific action, and you say that they're not basically taking it seriously. Just looking around today, I mean, you'll probably be aware by now that Sir David Attenborough had a big piece in The Sun saying that he believes the planet can be saved from global warming, and here is how to do so. Looking at the Times own pages, a full page of coverage on climate change, as well as historical articles. The Telegraph's own environmental reporter tweeting, "I have a big environment investigation I've been working very hard on in the paper, but it's now been held because Extinction Rebellion have become the story. Disappointed doesn't cover it." There are journalists trying to cover what you've now suppressed. Yeah, all of the major papers may have an environmental journalist, and so there may be the occasional article that David Attenborough. But if you look at the rest of the Sun, they run a campaign to promote fracking across Britain. They've staged false fracking protests. They have run a campaign to cut taxes on fossil fuels for 10 years. That has taken £110 billion out of the NHS and the government coffers that could have been invested in a Green New Deal. And so therefore the overwhelming coverage in the Murdoch's paper and the billionaire press is anti-climate action, anti-investment in a Green New Deal. Across the world, Murdoch is recognised as an impediment to climate action. His own son, James, has quit News Corp over the issue. And so what we are saying today is we want those 5 tax haven billionaires to ensure their corporations take this seriously and help protect Britain.
Do you support, I mean, you clearly do support the method of doing so, but you seem to have managed to unite very different parts of the political spectrum against what you've done today. I mean, obviously the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, has criticised what you've done. The Labour shadow minister for the culture, media and sport has said a free press is vital for our democracy. People have the right to read what they want. Stopping them from being distributed and printers from doing their jobs is wrong. Even one of the leaders of Reporters Without Borders, the international NGO for press freedom, has said this is a clear danger in reducing media plurality and restricting access to information. I mean, you're managing to garner a lot of criticism from people whose support you need.
Well, the idea that Britain has a diverse press is a joke. Over 70 to 80% of our media is owned by 5 people. Who are they? They live offshore in tax havens. The idea that Britain has a diverse media is farcical. Every single election for the last 45 years has been the Prime Minister has been backed by Rupert Murdoch.
But what you've done today has reduced that diversity. What you've done today is reduced that diversity even further in terms of the choice people have today on their newsstand.
That's absolutely untrue. What we're actually saying, for the last 45 years, Murdoch and Rothermere and the Barclay brothers have been heard above everybody else in this country. It is time for just one day that those of us who passionately believe that Britain is under threat of extreme danger, according to the UN, should be heard. And that's why we've come today, because that complacency by those 5 men is a threat to Britain.
However, they still print Extinction Rebellion's own views. Gail Bradbook, one of your co-founders, only 24 hours ago had a piece in the Evening Standard, one of the targets of your action.
The idea that you have one article from Gail Bradbook, an interview, and then 20 pages on cruises, flights, meat eating, consumption, consumerism. Our entire press creates the permission for a high carbon lifestyle and doesn't move us towards where we need to be. What we are here today is saying is the media is acting as Chamberlain. delaying action to 2050. And what we need is a Churchillian action to protect Britain and the natural world. We've lost 83% of nature, and the government has announced a planning system that will destroy more of nature. By the time I die, we may have lost all of nature that was on the planet when I was born. This is a crisis, and that's why we're here today.
Donnachadh McCarthy, thank you very much indeed for your time. Appreciate it today. I'll speak to you again, I imagine, very soon, because there's 10 days of protests from Extinction Rebellion that are taking place at the moment, that as you will have seen coverage of on Sky News.